Okay, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone doing? All right, so welcome to the Real Change Florida Town Hall meeting with Honorable Lennox Linton, Opposition Leader and Leader of the United Workers' Party, Team Dominica. Our theme is Ready to Lead. That's our theme here in Miami today, Ready to Lead. Everyone, I would like you to stand for the national anthem of the United States of America. now for the national anthem of Dominica, Miss Golda Scotland.
I love beauty, I love splendor, I'll too also sweet and fair. All must surely gaze in wonder at thy gifts so rich and rare. Rivers, valleys, hills and mountains, all these gifts we do extol. Healthy land, so light of fountains, giving cheer that warms the soul.
And now we'll have the Dominica National Pledge, led by Jaya Telemark.
Before God and all mankind, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the Commonwealth of Dominica and to the sovereign republic for which it stands, my love, my loyalty, and skills in service of Dominica and my fellow citizens. I promise to help build a prosperous and peaceful nation. Thank you.
Okay, and now we will call Pastor Johnny Castor, who will minister to us in song and as well pray to begin this event.
Good evening, fellow Dominicans. No, that doesn't sound like our people. Good evening, fellow Dominicans. I'm tremendously blessed to be in this gathering today. And as we invite God's presence, I invite you to stand as we pray. Eternal Father, we are just so grateful for your amazing love to us. We thank you that you are interested in every detail of our lives. And so we gather here to discuss issues in nation building and to look forward for a better and brighter Dominica. I pray, God, that we will understand before we serve a party, we are all Dominicans. And whether we may differ in our political affiliation, we will work for the common good of our island and for our community. So we pray that the issues may not divide us as a people, and we will make the best decisions at the poll, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, I'm also charged. Thank you, you may be seated. I'm also charged to sing for you this evening. It's one thing to stand before your own people and sing. So you just bear with me, but I must hail up the people from Marigot and Wesley. You remember Westmar Rangers, right? Well, I was born in Marigot, but I went to school in Wesley. So I am a Westmar, Marigot and Wesley and Marigot. I remembered when we went to the small Seventh-day Adventist school there in Phillip Avenue, our colleagues from Wesley would call us Marigot Kobo. And we would call them, well, Wesley Stone Crabs. But it was a well, rounded small school, and we are just so happy for those of you who invested in our lives. We are the product of what you did in the 80s and 90s. And we want to ensure that the Gen Zs and the millennials will be the products of what we do today. So I want you, and now that you have purchased your t-shirts and you've supported the party, once you leave, do not leave without my CD, okay? You can contribute to us. My wife and I have a radio and television network here in Orlando where we give the good news of the gospel across the world. We are on 25 different radio and television stations. So we want you to know that when you invest, you're investing in something good and something worthwhile. All right? So don't leave today without doing that. I'm going to do You Raise Me Up for you this evening. When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, when I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and spend the time with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountain. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raised me up to more than I can be. So I can stand a mountain, to walk on stormy seas. Oh, I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. Oh, I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Thank you. Come on, put your hands together for Pastor Johnny Pastor. Okay, so Giselle Francis will be with you shortly. I'm just filling in for her until she gets here. And so we have a full program for you, a good lineup, and I see some very interesting names. And this is my home ground, Miami. So I took it for granted that everyone
was developed by Prime Minister of Venezuela called Chavez through the alternative to America, Alba. I don't know if you know about that now. And they want to develop a socialist system of government in the Americas. And Dominica does follow like sheep following a master. And they're transforming. So what they did, they starve the people of resources, they keep all the resources, and they hope that every election they'll buy them and buy them until they have full control of the people. Because I can't understand why somebody in Dominica would destroy agriculture. Agriculture is, I'm agriculture. I went to school for agriculture. Dominica prepared me for agriculture. And I really feel bad having to use that training and experience here to help farmers in Florida. I work with the Department of Agriculture here, and I have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and I really like to share that knowledge with my people of Dominica and make them more productive and make them make money. Because the opportunity for investment in agriculture is tremendous. Everything we have in Dominica can get into the market today. It's not like 20 years ago when you couldn't sell bread nuts, or you couldn't sell pineapple, or grapes. Anything would sell, coconut. For that matter, the coconut water you see on the shelves, you see everybody's in coconut water and buying it. That work was done by us in Dominica. Right in Dominica, in Londonderry, we did the research with the help of the FAO to find a way to bottle coconut water without putting it in the fridge. And we come up with a system of bottling coconut water. We had a patent for 7 years to implement a program before anybody else in the world could use it. And we were working with Coca-Cola at the time to implement the program. And we lost the election, and Labour Party came in and they allowed it to expire. And now Brazil, Asia, everybody around the world, Philippines, now was selling coconut water. And that work was done in Dominica. So, that's the kind of work we did in Dominica, because we were trying to modernize agriculture so that farmers could make real money. And we saw our non-band agriculture move from 12 million in 1995 to 27 million in 1999. That's in 4 years, we moved non-band agriculture export by some $15 million. And we were implementing a system of contract farming, which would give the farmers the confidence that they have a market and they can go out and produce. That was discontinued by the Labour Party. We also invested in the purchasing the shipping and marketing business of Gis Industries. Many of you don't know that, but we actually bought that business. And Labour Party is still maybe getting about $2 or $3 million a year in dividend from that business. The farmers are not seeing a cent from it. So a lot of things that was done as a foundation for development agriculture was just disbanded by the Labour Party. And I'm convinced it's not by mistake. It's done because they want to starve people so that in the end, for election time, they can come and give people $2,000, $3,000, and hopefully they will just run and vote for them. Till there's no opposition and they can treat them like dogs. But today, I want to give hope to my people of Dominica that we as Dominicans, we were born and bred there. Dominica prepared us to have a good life in America. And we have to return something to our country. And I'm happy by you being here today, I'm assured that you are prepared to support the movement for change in Dominica. It will be difficult. It will be very, very difficult. Because the pickups someone had 20 years ago, they all disappeared. And if you go in Dominica now, you don't see no new pickups. All you're seeing is little car and SUVs. This can't help in the productive sector. So vehicles, roads, markets, even planting material. Imagine government, we had a hurricane, and up to now, the government have not supported the planting of one coconut tree in Dominica. Imagine that. You had $18 million from the World Bank. What you should have done is pay farmers to plant. So you say, okay, I'm going to give you $2,000 to plant an acre of coconuts. So we know in the next 5 years, we have something we can sell. But they didn't do that. They just give it to supporters. They consume it. And like the prodigal son, that mean to Venezuela. All of us who watch the news now see what happened in Venezuela. I have a scientist working with me in Gainesville. And he tell me he don't want to hear the name Venezuela because Chavez, the devil, destroy Venezuela. So he turned his back and he didn't want to hear the name. But we want to be able to hear the name of Dominica. We want to be able to say, this is the country of my birth. And we want to see progress in Dominica. I know we can do it. The first job for us is to make sure we construct that international airport. Yes. And it really hurt me to see that the Labour Party government just discontinue a very well thought out and financed project. We evaluated all the sites in Dominica for that airport. And it's during that evaluation that the engineers discovered that site from Woodford Hill to Londonderry. And the reason for it is that he was saying that would be one of the safest airports in the Caribbean. Because all the pilots have to do is come between Espanyol and the Cabrits, those two little hills, and it's straight on the runway. And if you look at the Dominica map, you're from sea to sea. There are no obstacles from Portsmouth to Cabana. You just look at the map yourself. When they look at the soil went down to 150 feet without any rocks. So that was easy. And all you had was rolling hills. So you cut a hill, fill a hill. Cut a hill, fill a hill, and you have a perfect runway. When we discovered the site, we did all the studies, we decided to find the finances. We had a commitment, we had the money from the Taiwanese government of 50 million US dollars. We had 36 million euros from the European Union. They themselves did their own economic evaluation before they gave us the money. And we had commitment from Japan, from Venezuela, and Cuba to help build the runway. And the Labour Party came, I would say the lazy Labour Party came, and just didn't take on the project. But any one of us here, look at the performance of Labour Party and tell me if you believe that it can build an airport. There's nothing you can point to. I go to Dominica every year. Nothing you can point to for a project that the Labour Party did in 20 years. They boast of a bridge. We built 5 bridges. People didn't know that. They spend more money celebrating a small project than what it cost to build a project. And if you look at, if we have to count the amount of money that was wasted for celebrating Skerritt 2 doctorate, for naming the main airport, for discovering, breaking ground for bridges, for opening bridges, that amount of money alone is almost enough to build the airport. Because all they do is fest, bringing songsters. Why government in the business of bringing people to celebrate in Dominica, paying thousands and thousands of dollars, bringing stars in Dominica? Leave that for the private sector. Let people go to their party. While the people suffering, you have money wasted. Election is coming, you're going to see thousands of dollars bringing artists from all over the world coming, trying to fool the people. This is our country, and we must, every cent is important. And every cent should go to create jobs and create opportunities for our people. It really, really hurts me to see our young people just following. Some of them in their 20s and 30s, they never had a paycheck. And when I grew up, when I was 15 years in Western Woodford Hill, they already were making money. They would be going to the garden with their father, they would put their own planting tree. When the planting good, they would sell it, they get the money. Somebody wants somebody to do flower banners, after school they go to the flower, they make some money. So people, young people knew how to work. They work with their parents, they learn how to make money. That's why when they come overseas, they are afraid to no work. And Dominicans have to be considered the best workers because of the training they got from the 70s and 80s. The young people of Dominica today, if they come to the United States, I'm sorry they're going to end up like these boys on the streets. Because they were never taught to work. So our government have destroyed our country. That government, Labour Party, have destroyed Dominica in many, many ways. And I'm happy that you, people of Florida, come out to give support to Team Dominica and to our leader, Lennox Linton, for trying to wake up Dominica and rebuild our country to what we know it was in the 70s and 80s. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that message. Yes, we are ready to lead the United Workers' Party. We are ready. And if you are ready for real change, come on now, make some noise. You got to hear your head. We are ready for real change. You live out of Dominica, and you go to Dominica, you know you're ready for real change. For me, my pet peeve is taking 3 days to get to Dominica, overnighting in St. Martin, but I don't like it. I travel all over the world and I get there in one day. All over the world. And to Dominica, it takes me a long time. All right, well, I see some familiar face here. I must recognize my friend. He's with the Miami Gardens Commission, Mr. Francis Ragu. Friends of Dominicans, he's from Trinidad. Welcome. I see Mr. Franklin Moses back there, celebrity in the house. Yes. So welcome. Okay, so I'm done. I'm going to introduce to you this beautiful lady, and she's going to welcome you and take you through the rest of the evening. Thank you. Oh my goodness. All right, her beauty, look at her. She's so beautiful, dressed in blue, ready for change. I forgot her name. What's her name? Giselle Francis.
I'm a little taller than I anticipated. With the mic, I was here earlier and I had no heels on, so it was perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, I live here in South Florida. I've lived here for the last 3.5 years. And as Joanne indicated, I am a native of Dominica. I am from the wonderful scenic village of Font Saint-Jean. I was Miss Dominica in 1997. My uncle, Gerard Hill, he was a candidate for the very first time for the United Workers' Party for that constituency. When we, the United Workers' Party, won that election from the reigning Freedom Party, it was a glorious time. We were new, ideas were new, faces were new, dreams seemed a little bit in the sky. But with Edison James, with Earl and all of the others, they were attained. If anyone who's listening or who's joining us or who's here this evening has any doubt about what this party, this organization, this movement can do, we always, and even if it might sound rhetoric, we always ask that you go back and look at the United Workers' Party's 4.5 years in office. And I want to remind us again that the United Workers' Party was not voted out of office because of corruption, because Tony Estefan, during his investigation, proved that there was, according to Trump, no collusion. Okay? He proved through a 2-year, almost as long as Mueller's, that there was no evidence of corruption. They also said during their campaign that workers cafe bagay 2 So don't look at the, can you imagine that? An incoming government says to you, do not look at the work that your elected officials are doing for you. It doesn't matter, just vote them out. Just vote them out. They're too popular. We didn't think that they could achieve it, and now that they're achieving it, something is wrong. Vote them out. You now have 20 years of a ruling Labour Party. I was a journalist with Q95. I was a journalist with Kyrie FM. I did a live show on Marpin TV. And in those 20 years, I can count approximately maybe 5 or 6 times that an international airport was promised. Ground was broken. I don't know if they had gerbils digging underneath. We never saw an airport. We had abattoir. I visited the abattoir with my 2 children when I visited Dominica some time ago. Capi and goats and manico that was running the abattoir. 1 security guard and a container with a little patch of dirt. The coffee plant, Portsmouth, the roads. We just had a video from my constituency, the Petit Savin constituency. The road that the United Workers' Party blasted from the top of Petit Savin into Dade. That road is no more. That road is no more. Why was that road important? Because that road cut at least 40 minutes of your drive from Dade and from La Plaine to get to Roseau. And it was also very important because in the event that that volcano erupted and the boiling lake and all of that came down, we had an option around. For those of you in IT, we had an option, we had a plan B. Right now that road is no more. So we're happy to be here once again asking and informing you that we did it once, we will do it again. This United Workers' Party will do it again. And as we continue the rest of our program, we have some esteemed speakers who are coming up. We have a beautiful program set up for you. We have some wonderful music. My lovely friend here is going to take the mic in a little bit, Miss Doreen Paul, Honorable Doreen Paul, always. But for right now, we're going to take a short intermission break. We do have the donation center outside. All of you have received the cards on the envelope. Whatever you can will be most appreciated. Go out, have some food, have some drinks, reunite, get to know each other, and we'll be back here in 15 minutes. Thank you. After this, you can always go online to the site, click on the donate button, whether it's $1 or $5 or anything that you are able to, you can donate on there as well. We're inviting everyone who's outside to please make your way inside as we get ready to restart our program here. And we have a very, very special surprise for us during the Honorable next Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica's appearance here this evening. Woo! And I know Mr. Carmen spoke earlier, but I just want to remind you, and I know he did a good job of it as well, just want to remind you who he is. Mr. Peter Carmen is the first ever resident of Woodford Hill to have been elected to and served in the Parliament of Dominica. He won the Wesley constituency in 1995, in 2000 and 2005. Peter is a trained agricultural expert. He was trained at the University of the West Indies and the Eastern Caribbean School of Agriculture. Before his role as Minister of Agriculture in the government of Dominica, Peter served as a banana extension officer, fruit quality officer, and operations manager. Peter moved to the US because of political harassment, and for the past decade, he has served as an environmental specialist with the Department of Agriculture within the state of Florida. Peter is constant and current contributor to the politics discussed in the homeland of Dominica. And ladies and gentlemen, I met her years ago in Dominica, and I remember the first time I met the Honorable Doreen Paul. I saw her as a next mammal, because as a young child, all I grew up knowing is labor, freedom, and mammal. I lived in Loubier, which is the birthplace of Dame Mary Jr. Charles's family. And I'll be very honest about this, my kids know that, we would raid the Charles estate, which is just off the Loubier playing field by the river. We would go volley mangoes by the river. The sweetest mango is down by the river, right, in that little water. We would go steal breadfruit. We would go steal cherries up on the road to go up Castle Comfort. We would go a little further up and get into where Gadakan and Leo's mining and try to build forts and play football in that area. And so when I met Doreen for the first time, I really saw her, because I was so young, as another very strong, prominent female who was coming to take up the reins in Dominica. And she did not disappoint. She led her constituency and she led her Ministry of Dignity and Pride. She was part of a winning team.
To those who could not be here, as those who are listening over the airwaves, recognize that our country is at risk. Our country is at risk on the local front because our people are suffering. No matter what you see, how we dress. Oh, Dominicans, we got style. You don't have that on us. We got style. We will dress. We will smile. We will look the part. But we are hurting. We are hurting. I hear the complaints from every corner. We are hurting. People are hurting. So I'm telling you, we got to start with spreading that message. spreading it to your loved ones, spreading it to your friends. You do not necessarily have to be paid a ticket to go to Dominica to vote, to spread the message. Your vote is not for sale. Amen. You are here and you can spread that message to your loved ones to make that change. No matter how much money they give them.
Take it and run.
Okay, somebody said take it and run. Run with it. It's your money. It's your money. It's not theirs. It's your money. They're not doing you a favor. I want our people to stop thinking that when governments give you something, that it is a favor they're doing you. No. No. You are a citizen of the country and you elect your government to take care of you. So, there is a new team on board. Fresh ideas, new ideas, intelligent women and men who are ready to make that change. And I want to urge us to stand with the new team Dominica. I have been listening and following, and I believe that they can work together to bring about meaningful change in our country that will set Dominica ahead of the other islands in the Caribbean as we move into the next decade and into the next century. Somebody was saying, we were having a discussion about education. We still have an archaic education system in Dominica. While other countries are moving in STEM competencies, and I work in the community college, and I can tell you how STEM competencies are very important. I am president of the Dominica Association in Tampa Bay, and we're working now to try to encourage our students in Dominica to utilize the community colleges and the public colleges in Dominica to lower their student loan debt. So my work hasn't stopped. We will continue to work together to ensure that Dominica moves forward. Support Team Dominica. Thank you so very much.
And we want to thank the Honorable Senator Doreen Paul and her entire family. They traveled from very far to be with us this evening. Thank you very much. We also want to thank the Honorable Minister. I will always say Honorable Minister, no matter what goes on. You guys are Honorable Ministers always. Peter Cavan and his family as well, who also traveled very far to be with us here this evening. The moment is approaching, but just before, we just want to remind everyone viewing and listening, we have tons of food outside that was prepared by patriots who are here with us this evening. You all like the saltfish? Yes. And the bakes? And the sandwiches? And the little stuff out there? Who know what the ginger was? And the leaves and the bay leaves and all of that? Mm-hmm. All right, good. So we make sure we cater to everyone. Yes, sir? I'm being reminded to please put your hands up, or please check this young gentleman here if you have not received a donation envelope or a donation card, and he will come out to you. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you. We also want to again welcome all of those viewing via TDN Radio and the management of TDN who are on with us, and all of our Facebook friends and family. Mr. Ellerton Castor. Mr. Castor, please get closer. Where is he? Okay, he's right there. Fantastic. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the time where we prepare for the introduction of the next Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica. I have the distinct pleasure of presenting Mr. Linton's bio, and Mr. Castor will join me for us to officially introduce Mr. Linton. On the stage right now, we have two wonderful gentlemen, and you will get to know them if you've not known them before. Since being formed as a group in June of 2010, the Sons of Maestro, two gentlemen here, have performed at a variety of events, such as playing in AC/DC, several Miami Heat games, basketball games. They've received the keys to the city and ceremonies, most notably honoring recording artists Wycliffe Jean and celebrity sisters Kim and Kourtney Kardashian. They've been part of ESPN and BCS championship parties. They opened for The Fray for Sunfest in 2016, the biggest art and music festival of South Florida, the 8th annual Jazz in the Gardens, alongside notable R&B and jazz acts such as Najee, Fantasia, Kenny Babyface Edmonds, Charlie Wilson, New Edition, Monica, Neo, Earth, Wind and Fire. They also opened for Dennis Edwards and The Temptations, Nat King Cole, Generation Hope, Carnival on the Mile, opening for Sean Paul at Calle Ocho Festival in Miami, among many others. Ladies and gentlemen, Sons of Maestro and Mr. Elton Castor, as we get ready to introduce the Honorable Lennox Linton.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my distinct pleasure to be granted the honor of introducing Lennox Linton to you this evening. Lennox is actually someone I've known all my life. He has been a big brother, he's been a mentor, he's been a tutor. He may not remember this, but he actually introduced me to transcendental meditation a long, long time ago. He was my first guru. I still remember my mantra. Based on my ancestry DNA results, which I got about 3 weeks ago, I now know that he's my fourth cousin. So, given that we were both born in the village of Marigot, it's not surprising. It's a limited gene pool. I think that anyone who's known Linton for the, Lennox for the last 10 years, any portion of the last 10 years, can no doubt agree that he's undoubtedly become a servant of the people of Dominica. His varied and impressive background has provided him with the insight, the judgment, the experience, and I think as important or most important, the temperament for what we believe is his most important, and given the lack of development in Dominica at this point in time, probably his most critical role, to date. While most of us, strive to earn recognition and accolades in one field of professional endeavor, Lennox has, over his lifetime, managed to do that in 3. He's been an impressive and accomplished executive. He's been an award-winning journalist and broadcaster, and ultimately a very seasoned parliamentarian. While he was formally educated at the Marigot Government School and the Dominica Grammar School, University of Texas at Austin, he earned superlatives as an experienced senior corporate executive and award-winning supply chain logistician over a 14-year career with the Dominica Coconut Products and Colgate Palmolive Dominica. His peers recognized his excellence in those endeavors by electing him president of the Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce. Lennox's first love, however, has always been journalism, the search for the truth and the desire to inform and educate people. And prior to commencing his business career, Lennox was already a seasoned media veteran with stints as an announcer and reporter at DBS Radio, editor of the New Chronicle, a senior producer at Barbados-based radio service for the Caribbean News Agency, And concurrent with his responsibilities at DCP and Colgate-Palmolive, he managed, in his spare time, to host a Marpin television talk show, What About? Another talk show in Marpin also called Good Morning Dominica. And after leaving the corporate arena, he focused his efforts full-time on media and journalism. He was first manager of Observe Radio in Antigua from 2004-2006. And from 2007 to 2013, he really utilized his experience by providing consulting services to areas of communication and media strategy to a number of political parties and business organizations in the region. It was also during this time that he produced and hosted what I'm sure we all know is a very popular talk show in Dominica on a Kyrie FM radio between you and me. On Kyrie, Q, right, Q95 FM Dominica, between you and me. On September 1st, 2013, Lennox embarked on the road that would lead him to this point at which we are tonight. He was elected leader of the United Workers' Party, and on December 8th, 2014, he was elected parliamentary representative for the Mariga constituency and became leader of the opposition. So without further ado, I give you the husband of Shirley, father to Eden and Abigail, and the next Prime Minister of the Nature Island of Dominica, the Honorable Lennox Linton.
And ladies and gentlemen, it would be remiss of me just before Mr. Linton takes the stage if I were not to let you know who this now gentleman is. This gentleman is Elton Castor. He is the Chief Executive Officer, Ontario Graphite Limited. Now just listen to this. He's a proud Dominican, like Lennox. Is it third cousin? Fourth cousin, okay. He was born in Dominica. He has 30 plus years of investment banking, mergers and acquisitions, corporate finance, and principal investing experience throughout the Americas, Canada, Europe, and Asia. He spent the last 5 years at various senior management roles at Ontario Graphite Limited, culminating in his promotion to CEO in June of 2018. And prior to that, he was principal at Sphere Invest Special Situations Fund, managing director and group head of Latin America, mergers and acquisitions at Bank of America Securities, executive director and global mergers and acquisitions at CIBC in Oppenheimer, and associate mergers and acquisitions and corporate finance at Morgan Stanley. He holds an MBA say that loud, and this is the caliber that we have who's patiently waiting to
contribute.
Thank you.
Anyway. Sorry about the having to make you wait for Lennox to come to speak to us tonight. Giselle, thank you very much. That was very gracious. I do appreciate that. And like she said, we are all looking forward to having the opportunity to serve in any way that we can with our next Prime Minister. We give you Lennox Linton.
I don't know. What you call me for?
within the last few weeks, sending messages. And this government that has picked up over $1.2 billion from the sale of Dominican passports in the last 3 years cannot find 20 million to put a hospital in the Northeast. Not only are they making a lot of money from the sale of passports and people not seeing what is done with it, there's another thing that is happening with the sale of diplomatic passports and diplomatic immunity to crooks and criminals around the world in flagrant violation of our international conventions.
It's true.
This regime has weaponized the criminal justice system against free and fair elections and the right to dissent in a democracy. I'm living testimony of that. I stand before you today as someone who, for expressing the right to free speech and talking to people, they have me before the court for incitement. But we'll talk about that angle in a little bit. Right now, this weekend, the Dominica Labour Party will launch a candidate in the Grand Forks constituency. They have circulated notification of all the buses that are going to be paid for. Some of you may have seen that. Now, when I looked at it, I said, wow, okay, this looks like over $20,000 per constituency for buses. And you're paying them not knowing who is going to show up to be in the bus. I'm happy that the bus drivers are getting some money because everybody's under pressure in Dominica. But consider the waste. At that level of spend for transportation to a launch of a candidate only, and they have 13 to launch, because remember, 62% of the slate that ran in 2014 has been wiped out, and 50% of the ministers of government have been ruled ineligible to contest the elections of 2019-2020. At that rate of spending on transportation, and then you have sound and lights and stage and free food and free drink and free entertainment, every launch is going to be a $500,000 enterprise. Every launch. So if you have 13, you're spending $6.5 million launching candidates alone. With all the rest of the things to be done in an election campaign, you're looking at a campaign that will cost easily over $50 million. Where is that money coming from? The money is coming from the people of Dominica. There's nowhere else it can come from. Passport sales, money under the table, public works contracts untendered, from which people get their kickbacks, etc. That is where the money is coming from. And notice, we are the only political party in Dominica asking the people that we're seeking to represent to support our campaign, which is the way it is done in the democratic world. Right here in America. Every week, as the Democrats vie to see who is going to emerge to challenge Donald Trump, no collusion. As the Democrats vie, see that you hear the reporting of the amount of money that people are ponying up, that people are putting together to support candidate X or Y. That's how it's done. So we have asked the people of Dominica at home and abroad to support our campaign. And we're being subjected to all sorts of insults and criticisms for that, as though asking people to support a political party's campaign is all of a sudden a bad thing in Dominica because the Labour Party doesn't have to do that. But you know why it doesn't have to do that? Because it is stealing the people's money. That's the only reason. And that's why we need change. So now, we have a criminal justice system that is weaponized against free and fair elections. And we have a regime that is playing politics and insisting on buying votes with post-disaster relief and reconstruction assistance. It's a very disgraceful thing when you consider the extent to which many of you here tonight sacrificed to ensure that your brothers and sisters back home were safe. When you consider the extent of the support from the international community and the amount of money that we ourselves had to go towards recovery and reconstruction. You had a man at the head of government saying to the people of Dominica that the government, their government, whose tax money they have, whose passport money they have, whose donations from people around the world are in their custody. That man tells the people of Dominica that they had no responsibility to help people.
The government, we really had no responsibility to help anyone after the hurricane.
He had no responsibility to help anyone after the hurricane. And the more we look at it, the more we look at our Dominica, the more we see the very frightening similarities with Venezuela. A country with the largest oil reserves in the world that has found itself in a position where its people are starving and its people are leaving. But Venezuela's head of government is Nicolas Maduro. He's a dictator. He blocks humanitarian aid from coming to poor people. The head of government in Dominica, dictator Roosevelt Scarrett as well, he's a puppet of Maduro. The electoral process lacks legitimacy in Venezuela. It does not comply with international standards, and it has no guarantee for free and fair elections. The electoral process in Dominica also lacks legitimacy and does not comply with international standards, and there's no guarantee that we will have free and fair elections. Maduro uses poverty to force people to beg and depend on the dictator so he can buy their votes with handouts. Scarrett uses poverty to force people to beg and depend on the dictator so he can buy their votes with handouts. There's a difference between loving poor people and loving people to be poor. If you love poor people, that love somehow must manifest itself in working towards helping people to get out of poverty. That's how you love people. But you don't love them to keep them there so you can continue to exploit them for your own good forever and ever. Amen. Maduro persecutes and brutalizes political opponents, victimizes critics, and crushes dissent. Scarrett persecutes and brutalizes political opponents, victimizes critics, and crushes dissent. Millions are leaving Venezuela because of poverty, hunger, and lack of proper health care. We don't have millions in Dominica, but thousands are leaving because of poverty, hunger, and lack of proper health care. So no surprise. Hear what the Dominican dictator says.
It is foolishness to talk about you in opposition. We don't need opposition in
You can understand why it doesn't need any opposition.
If you choose not
There was no blood on anybody's hands when he became prime minister. But if he's going to be removed as prime minister with the people's votes, blood will be on somebody's hands. Dominica, ladies and gentlemen, Dominica, my brothers and sisters, your Isle of Beauty deserves better life. It deserves better than a government that refuses to engage meaningfully with the wealth of resources that Dominica has in the diaspora. The only thing that they believe our brothers and sisters living overseas are good for is to take payment, take bribes to come home to vote.
Yes.
But when Giselle Francis was reading through the bio of Elton Castor a while ago, I was reminded of the tremendous talent, capability that has come out of Dominica and is quietly making its mark in corporate America. This is the man who, years ago in his work in the investment community, had plans to bring a $200 million investment to Dominica. Under this administration, it never happened. It was supposed to be in the Marigot area. It never happened. Times are changing, it's coming. But it is not only that this administration has a difficulty working with diaspora resources, people who are smarter than the ministers of government, they have more resourcefulness than them, they have more talent and creativity. They also have a disdain for our brothers and sisters living overseas.
In America, those who call themselves in the diaspora, they are too wicked, and you have to deal with them. Don't take what they say. Anytime somebody in the diaspora says that anything is wrong with Dominica, put them in their place. Don't take it from them. And when they come to Dominica, look for them. Shut them out.
And when they come to Dominica, look for them and sort them out. Those are our brothers and sisters overseas that the Labour Party feature speaker was talking about, while the head of government for the past 15 years is sitting right next to him and had nothing to say. Dominica needs change.
People have to decide, do you want a man, Roosevelt Skerritt, to lead the country who have been mounting and mounting a dictatorship? Right now, in this country, they can't even get proper jobs. We are resolved that he has to resign. You have people, fishermen, struggling, farmers struggling. We have fertilizer, we hiding the fertilizer. To me, in fact, I'm not going to talk too much. What I will be saying is Skerritt must go. So Dominicans have to decide whether they want a dictator to run the country or they want a team of people who standing for democracy to run the country. Yeah, the people there. Skerritt must go!
Already? Yeah. You're country needs real change. We need to get onto the agenda of a righteous, just, and equal opportunity society. We need an economy that is going to work for the benefit of all. And we need quality health care. As a nature island, life in harmony with the natural environment, and global teamwork and connectivity. We have among us, those of us that live in Dominica, those of us that live overseas, we have all the talent and the capability that the country needs to get it to where it needs to go. And what you will see under this United Workers' Party Team Dominica government is connectivity with our diaspora resources for the benefit of all Dominicans like you have never seen before. That's our pledge. And in a real way, it begins with governance. It begins with governance. We will lead and will manage with respect for the democratic right of people to caring, efficient, honest, transparent, and accountable government. We will govern by the rule of law. We have had at the head of government in the past 15 years a man who told us the Constitution will not constrain him from doing what he wants. No law and no Constitution. And then he told us, go to hell, it's none of our damn business where we're getting the campaign money from. Leadership does not talk to people like that. Amen. In a democracy. It only happens in dictatorships. And we have to protect our country from that. So we'll govern by the rule of law. We'll include people in policy formulation and decision making. We'll ensure confidence in the administration of justice. We'll stamp out corruption and restore the dignity of Parliament as the principal governance body for the well-being of all. We will limit the time in office for any Prime Minister to 2 consecutive terms. And we will establish a fixed election date every 5 years. Your Real Change team will introduce development of Nature Island people education and training programs for schools and workplaces across Dominica. We have to know who we are supposed to be and how we behave with one another, how we get and leverage the resources of our Nature Island to become the best place to live, the best place to work, and the best place to enjoy life. And we have to provide some guidance in that regard. It will come from formal education and training on what we are all about. We'll facilitate the critical role of women in creating and nurturing balanced, harmonious, thriving nation. We'll secure our children from neglect and abuse, and ground them in the discipline of successful global citizenship. We will ensure adequate pay and proper working conditions for all public officers, starting with our nurses, our teachers, and our police officers. We will build a national work ethic in which public officers are committed to serve the state instead of being forced to enslave themselves to the will of government ministers. Public officers are not supposed to be serving ministers of government. They must see themselves as serving their country and bringing the best professionalism, commitment, and dedication to the task of development of country. We will increase the minimum wage in Dominica to no less than $1,000 monthly. No less, sir. It's supposed to be more than that, but we have to take it step at a time. Right now, people in Dominica are still legally working for $4.05 EC per hour. And will increase old age pensions from the public purse to less than $500 monthly. From the governance point of view, we have to take care of these things so that we drive the change, the agenda for change that Dominica needs. That will require us to create a success story of Nature Island's citizen engagement and participation that brings the government, the people, businesses, civil society groups and organizations, neighborhoods, in a collective effort to make Dominica the real, authentic, one and only Nature Island of the world. We'll establish a Nature Island context for education, for health care, and ground them in the scope of human development benefits of our natural resources. We will infect our culture with the values, the attitudes, and the behaviors that will allow our ecosystems and our biodiversity to support our sustainability. We'll establish disaster prevention and management systems to prevent loss of life, avoid fatal damage, and to administrative, social, and economic systems, and to mitigate damage to public and private property and achieve speedy recovery and reconstruction in times of disaster. We will set and achieve aggressive targets for our water quality, food security, clean air, green businesses, green jobs, climate resilience, minimizing our carbon footprint, and reducing consumption and eliminating waste. We have a responsibility to move our country from welfare to work. The welfare will not work. The welfare state will not work. We must move our country from welfare to work. We must give our people the blessing of the dignity of work. And it's not just about money. It's also about discipline in the key of life, esteem, being part of something, being part of building your community, your country. The only place on God's earth right now where the leadership in government believes a country can be built without people who are working is Dominica. And that has to change. That has to change. So we will create a new economy in Dominica, a new enterprise-driven economy, growing by 5 to 7% per year. And we believe, and therefore commit ourselves to creating 12,000 new jobs in the Dominica economy by the year 2025. That will happen with handling our agriculture, tourism, or light manufacturing, or information technology, communication technology services, or financial services, our construction, renewable energy, our sports industry, our water industry, our cultural and creative industries, much better than they're being handled right now. In some cases, in some of these growth engines, nothing is happening. Dominica, as you've seen from the charts, has not grown. And a country doesn't grow because the engines of growth are not functioning. If the engines of growth are shut down or they're sputtering, the country is going nowhere. So we have to see a different kind of agriculture. We have to put ourselves in a position where agriculture will start meaning something for us again. So we'll build a productive sector that supplies our local needs, gives us food security, and Side by side with that, we're also trading a mix of high-value nature island products in global markets. This is pivotal to the sustainable growth of the Dominica economy. We'll modernize the industry and make it attractive to young people again. With all the complaint about young people not being interested in agriculture, agriculture stopped making money for the people of Dominica. The amount of agriculture money that we used to find in rural communities across Dominica is not there anymore. So why should young people think that there's something for them in agriculture when their parents who used to make money from it before are no longer making the money? So it is by showing the economic benefit of agriculture, the income earning capability of agriculture for rural Dominica in particular, that we will generate interest for young people, because we'll expand the market, driven production of high value foods, herbs, spices, livestock and marine products. And we'll put in place better land use policies and innovations in farm technologies, transportation and marketing. Livelihood restoration in the rural communities is critical for us. The Dominica economy will go nowhere fast if we don't pay attention to the rural economy. So we have to return, and since agriculture is still one of the most important things we'll ever do because of what we've been blessed with, we have to bring back life, breathe new life into the farming communities across Dominica. We will enact legislation and regulations to legalize, grow, process, and export cannabis and cannabis-based health and wellness products. We have wasted too much time. The election is on us now, so the quicker they get out of the way so that real things can start happening in Dominica, the better it will be. We will purchase at least 2 refrigerated vessels to transport Nature Island branded primary and processed agricultural products in the Caribbean. In terms of tourism, we will leverage the abundant blessings of green that have been bestowed on our Nature Island to optimize job creation and other economic benefits of tourism. We will create a Nature Island visitor economy program, special events, sports festivals, along with health and education engagements that offer the lovers of nature a safe haven of peace and tranquility. And it is a serious constraint on the cost of doing business. The renewable energy solution of the United Workers' Party Team Dominica includes initiatives in hydro, wind, solar, and geothermal targeted at improving the reliability of energy services while lowering our dependency on fossil fuels. We'll complete the shift to renewable energy utilization, renewable energy technologies, introduce voluntary energy efficiency standards for lighting, and upgrade the building codes for energy efficiency. This is an area where we are currently lagging behind everybody else as well. The sun doesn't shine any less in Dominica than it shines in other Caribbean islands, but you go to these islands and you see them with their solar farms powering some aspect of government operations at the very least. We have been talking about geothermal for how many years, and not one light bulb in Dominica today